Captain Lisa Chen was tired. She had been flying her trading ship through space for 3 years now. The ship was called Horizon's Edge. It was not a big ship. It was not a fancy ship, but it was hers, and it carried food and supplies to small colonies far away from Earth. Today seemed like any other day. Lisa sat in her captain's chair, drinking coffee and looking at the stars on her screen. Her first officer, Marcus Reeves, was checking the ship's systems. Marcus was an old man with gray hair. He had been working on spaceships longer than Lisa had been alive. Suddenly, Marcus looked up from his computer. His face looked worried. "Captain, you need to see this. I'm picking up a signal. It's strange." "Very strange." Lisa walked over to his station. She looked at the screen. There were waves of light moving up and down in a pattern she had never seen before. The computer was trying to understand the signal, but it was having trouble. Words appeared on the screen, but they didn't make much sense. "Can you make it clearer?" Lisa asked. Marcus worked on the computer for a few minutes. He pressed buttons and changed settings. Slowly, the signal became easier to understand. When Lisa read the words on the screen, her blood ran cold. "Help us. Please help us. The Kresh have come. Our station is breaking. People are dying. We have no weapons. We cannot fight. If anyone can hear this message, please come. We are dying." Lisa didn't know who the Kresh were. She had never heard that name before. But the fear in the message was real. Someone was in terrible danger. She looked at the computer to see where the signal was coming from. It was 3 light years away. According to the ship's files, that system belonged to the Velans. The Velans were friends with humans. They were peaceful people who liked art and music. They didn't have armies or weapons. They traded with everyone and hurt no one. Lisa had met some Velans before. They were kind and gentle. "Marcus, send a message to Earth right now. Tell them what's happening. And set a course for that system. We're going to help them." Marcus stared at her. "Captain, we can't help them. We're just a cargo ship. We don't have any weapons. We don't have armor. If something destroyed their space station, it will destroy us too." Lisa looked at Marcus. Her voice was calm but firm. "Then we'll give them time. We'll distract whoever is attacking them until real help arrives. Set the course, Marcus." "That's an order." Marcus didn't argue anymore. He knew Lisa well enough to know she wouldn't change her mind. He pressed some buttons and the ship turned toward the signal. The stars on the screen began to stretch and blur as the ship jumped into faster-than-light speed. While the ship flew through space, Lisa recorded a message to send to Earth. Messages took a long time to travel through space, even with the special relay stations that humans had built, but she had to try. "This is Captain Lisa Chen of the trading ship Horizon's Edge. We heard a distress call from Velan Station 7. Unknown enemies called the Kresh are attacking. They are killing civilians. We are going to help. We need military ships to come as fast as possible. I am sending you the location now." She sent the message and turned back to look at the stars. Lisa knew this was dangerous. She knew she might die, but she also knew she couldn't just fly away and leave people to die. That wasn't who she was. That wasn't what humans did. What Lisa didn't know was that her message would reach more than just Earth's military headquarters. It would go to every human ship, every space station, every military base within 100 light years, and she couldn't imagine what would happen next. You see, humans had a reputation in the galaxy. Other aliens called Earth a death world. They said it was a terrible place full of danger. They said humans were Deathworlders, creatures who came from a planet that tried to kill them every day. And they were right. Earth had terrible storms. It had diseases. It had animals with sharp teeth and poison. It had earthquakes and volcanoes. For millions of years, Earth tried to kill humans, but humans survived. They learned to fight back. They learned to protect their families. They learned to help each other. And when humans went to space, they took that with them. They protected not just other humans, but anyone who needed help. If you were friends with humans, they would defend you with everything they had. They would never let you face danger alone. The Kresh didn't know this. They thought the Velans were easy targets. They thought no one would come to help. They were about to learn how wrong they were. As the Horizon's Edge flew through space toward the Velan station, Lisa sat in her chair and thought about what they would do when they arrived. She looked at Marcus. "How long until we get there?" 3 hours, Marcus said quietly. "Captain, I hope you have a plan." Lisa smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "I have a plan. They won't like it, but I have a plan." The ship continued through space. Behind them, light years away, Lisa's message was being received by human military stations. Computers were processing it. Officers were reading it. And slowly, something incredible was beginning to happen. Ships were starting to move. Lots of ships. More ships than had ever moved together before. The Velans had called for help. A human merchant captain had answered that call. And now the full might of humanity was waking up. The Deathworlders were coming. Admiral Gregory Pierce was sitting at his desk on Mars. He was reading boring reports about supplies and equipment. It was a quiet afternoon. He was in charge of the 3rd Battle Group, which meant he commanded many warships, but today nothing exciting was happening. Then suddenly loud alarms started ringing. The sound made him jump out of his chair. A red light flashed on his wall. That light only came on for emergencies. His assistant, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, ran into his office. She didn't even knock on the door. "Admiral, we have a big problem. A civilian ship is reporting an attack. The Velans are being attacked. They're our friends, sir." Pierce was already walking toward the command center. "How many of our ships can reach them?" Sarah looked at her computer tablet while they walked. "We're checking now, sir. Maybe 40 ships can get there within 12 hours. But Admiral, something strange is happening." The message went everywhere. Every fleet in our area is seeing it. The command center was full of people working fast. Officers were shouting information to each other. Computer screens showed maps of space with ships and stations marked on them. Pierce walked to the main control station and looked at the big screen on the wall. He read the information quickly. The Velans had been friends with humans for 40 years. They were nice people who loved art and beauty. They never hurt anyone. They didn't have armies or weapons. They just wanted to live in peace and trade with other species, and now someone was killing them. "Get me all the information we have about these Kresh," Pierce said loudly, "and I want every ship we have to start moving right now. Use my authorization code Pierce Alpha 77. A young officer looked up at him. Her face was pale. "Sir, are you sending the whole battle group for just one space station?" Pierce looked at her with hard eyes. "The Velans are our friends. More than that, they are innocent people being murdered." "Yes, Lieutenant, I'm sending everyone. And if other fleet commanders want to come too, that's fine with me." A report appeared on his screen. He read it quickly. The Kresh were pirates and raiders from far away. They attacked weak targets and stole everything. They moved fast and hit hard, killing people before anyone could stop them. They had never met humans before because they stayed in parts of space that humans hadn't explored yet. They picked the wrong target this time. Within 1 hour, human warships started leaving their bases. A group of destroyers left from Luna Station near Earth's moon. Their commander was Jake Patterson, a tough officer who had fought pirates before. A squadron of cruisers launched from the shipyards near Saturn's moon Titan. Their captain was Rachel Martinez, known for never giving up in a fight. Big carrier ships with hundreds of fighter planes started moving. Small, fast frigates joined them. Support ships came too, carrying supplies and medical equipment. All of them were going to the same place. Admiral Pierce watched his screen as more and more ships reported they were leaving. First there were 40 ships, then 60, then 80. By the time evening came to Mars, more than 100 human warships were racing through space toward Velan Station 7. Sarah Kim stood next to him quietly. "Admiral, this has never happened before. We're putting together a force that could conquer a whole empire, all for one space station." Pierce nodded slowly. "Send a message to every ship. Tell them to follow combat rules number 7. If any Kresh ships want to surrender, we will accept. But Sarah, make sure every captain knows this. We will not let anyone else die if we can stop it. Not while we can help. Not ever." Sarah saluted and went to send the message. Pierce turned back to his screen. He watched the blue dots that represented human ships. All of them were flowing toward one red dot on the map. The Kresh wanted an easy fight. They wanted to attack people who couldn't defend themselves. Instead, they had woken something terrible. Humans came from Earth, a world that was always trying to kill them. They grew up with hurricanes, earthquakes, dangerous animals, and terrible diseases. For millions of years, Earth tested them. They survived by protecting each other. They survived by never giving up. They survived by fighting back against anything that threatened their families. When humans went to space, they took that instinct with them. They protected not just humans, but anyone who was their friend. Anyone who asked for help. It didn't matter if you were human or alien. If you were in danger and you called out, humans would come running. The Kresh thought they could attack the Velans and no one would care. They were wrong. They had attacked someone under humanity's protection, and now they were going to face the consequences. Admiral Pierce looked at the time. The first human ships would arrive at Velen Station 7 in about 10 hours. He hoped the Velens could hold on that long. He hoped that merchant captain Lisa Chen could buy them enough time. He pulled up her file on his computer. She was young, only 32 years old. She had been a cargo ship captain for 3 years. No military training, no combat experience, just a civilian trying to do the right thing, and she was flying toward danger to help people she had never met. That was the human spirit right there. That was what made them special. Not their weapons or their ships, but their willingness to risk everything for strangers. Their absolute refusal to stand by while others suffered. Pierce made a note to himself. If Captain Chen survived this, she deserved a medal. Maybe even a promotion. People like her were why humanity had such a good reputation in the galaxy. The hours passed slowly. More ships kept reporting they were on their way. The number climbed past 120. Then 150. It was incredible. It was unprecedented, and it sent a message that would echo across the galaxy. When you attacked someone humanity called friend, you didn't face one ship. You didn't face 10 ships. You faced all of them. Every single one. Administrator Velen held onto the metal railing as another explosion shook the space station. He was the leader of Station 7, responsible for the 10,000 Velens who lived and worked here. Through the big window, he could see the Kresh warships flying around like hunters circling their prey. Their weapons kept firing, tearing holes in the station's outer walls. Emergency lights flashed red. Somewhere far away, he could hear people screaming. His hearts were beating fast. Velens had 2 hearts, and right now both of them felt like they might burst from fear. A young Velen named Trellix looked up from her computer station. Her large eyes were full of tears. Administrator, a ship just arrived. They're calling us. It's a human ship, hope filled Velen's chest. One ship was better than no ships. Let me talk to them. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She looked young, but her eyes were strong and determined. Administrator, this is Captain Lisa Chen of the ship Horizon's Edge. We got your distress call. What's happening? Velen pointed at the chaos around him. The Kresh attacked us 6 hours ago. They destroyed all our defenses. Now they're breaking into the station. We have 10,000 people here. Most of them are trapped in the lower sections. Captain, I must tell you the truth. We have no weapons. We cannot fight. If you came here to save us, I fear you came here to die with us. Lisa's face stayed calm. Administrator, we're not here to die. We're here to buy you time. Help is coming, but you need to survive until it gets here. Can you move your people to the center of the station? That's the strongest part. Another explosion made the floor shake. Velen grabbed the railing tighter. We're trying, but the Kresh have blocked many of the hallways. Many of our people cannot reach the center. Then we'll make the Kresh look at us instead of you. Get everyone you can to safety. Chen out! The screen went dark. Velen turned to Trellix with confusion. What can one cargo ship do against 6 warships? He got his answer a few seconds later. Through the window, he saw the Horizon's Edge suddenly speed up. The ship's engines burned bright as it flew straight toward the nearest Kresh warship. The Kresh ship tried to turn away, but it was too slow. The human cargo ship crashed right into the Kresh ship's engine section. Metal crashed against metal. Sparks flew everywhere. Both ships spun away from the station, locked together by the impact. The Kresh ship's weapons stopped firing as its power died. The Horizon's Edge was badly damaged, but it had done what Lisa wanted. It had hurt the enemy. The other 5 Kresh warships stopped shooting at the station. They were angry now. They turned toward the broken human ship and started firing at it. Velen watched in horror as their weapons tore into the Horizon's Edge. He could see small escape pods shooting out from the dying ship. Tiny lights in the darkness. Send our rescue shuttles to get those escape pods, he ordered, and evacuate everyone to the center core. That human gave her ship and maybe her life to protect us. We won't waste her sacrifice. For the next 3 hours, the Velens worked desperately. They moved people through corridors and up elevators toward the station's central core. It was the oldest part of the station, built with thick metal walls. If they could get everyone there, they might survive a little longer. The Kresh came back eventually. They started attacking the station again. But now their attention was split. Some of them kept trying to destroy the human escape pods floating in space. Velen rescue shuttles kept getting in the way, protecting the pods. The Kresh had to waste time and ammunition dealing with the shuttles. It was a desperate plan. Every minute they bought might mean the difference between life and death. Every second counted, and slowly they were getting people to safety, but the station was breaking apart. Warning alarms rang constantly. Computer screens showed red damage warnings everywhere. Velen knew they couldn't last much longer. Soon he would have to give the order to abandon the station completely. They would all die in space, but at least they would die together. Then Trellix made a sound. It was something between a gasp and a cry. "Administrator, look at this. I'm detecting ships arriving." "Many ships?" "Hundreds of ships." Velen rushed to her station. His hands were shaking. "Who? Who's coming?" Trellix looked at him with wonder in her eyes. "They're human, sir. Every single ship is human. And they're sending a message to everyone." She turned on the speakers. A man's voice came through, calm and steady and absolutely terrifying in how confident it sounded. "This is Admiral Gregory Pierce of the Human Defense Fleet. Kresh vessels, you will stop your attack immediately. You will prepare to surrender. If you resist, we will destroy you. You have attacked friends of humanity. You have 30 seconds to respond." Velen stared at the tactical screen as it updated. Where there had been 6 Kresh warships, there were now more than 100 human warships. The screen kept updating as more arrived. 120, 150. They just kept coming. It was impossible. It was incredible. Humanity had sent a whole fleet to save one space station. They had sent an armada that could conquer star systems. All for the Velens. All because one merchant captain had called for help. The Kresh tried to run away. Their ships turned and burned their engines at maximum power, trying to escape. But they were too slow. The human warships were faster, stronger, and there were so many of them. Velen watched as human ships surrounded the Kresh. They moved with perfect coordination, like a pack of predators who had hunted together for years. The Kresh were trapped. There was nowhere to run. 4 of the Kresh ships stopped running. They turned off their weapons and engines. They were surrendering. But 2 of them decided to fight. Their weapons started firing at the human ships. The human response was swift and brutal. Bright beams of energy shot out from dozens of warships. The 2 Kresh vessels exploded in seconds. It was over so fast that Velen barely saw it happen. One moment the Kresh ships were fighting. The next moment they were gone. Trellix started crying. Not from fear anymore, but from relief. "We're saved. The humans saved us." Velen sank into his chair. His legs couldn't hold him up anymore. Through the window, he could see human ships everywhere. Small medical shuttles were already flying toward the station. Engineering ships were moving to repair the damage. Fighter planes flew in formation around them, protecting them. They had come. The Deathworlders had answered the call. And they had brought an army. Commander Jake Patterson stood on the bridge of his destroyer, the Valiant. He watched the Kresh ships trying to escape on his screen. It was sad, really. These raiders were built to attack weak targets. Against a real military fleet, they didn't stand a chance. "Target their engines," he told his weapons officer. "Disable them, but don't destroy them. We want prisoners. These people need to learn that their actions have consequences." The Valiant's weapons fired. Bright beams of energy shot across space and hit the Kresh ships exactly where Jake wanted. The enemy engines exploded. One by one, the Kresh vessels stopped moving. They drifted helplessly while human ships surrounded them. 2 Kresh ships decided they would rather die than surrender. Their weapons started firing at the human fleet. Jake watched them for a moment, then shook his head. They chose this. 43 seconds later, both Kresh ships were nothing but floating debris. Admiral Pierce's voice came through the communication system. "All ships begin rescue operations. First priority is finding survivors from the horizon's edge. Second priority is helping the Velens. Lock up the Kresh prisoners and get ready to transport them. And someone find Captain Chen for me. I want to thank her personally." Jake smiled a little. The captain of the horizon's edge had shown incredible courage. She had taken a cargo ship with no weapons and no armor, and attacked a warship. She had bought the Velens time when they had no time left. That took guts. All around the station, human ships went to work. Small medical shuttles flew toward the damaged station, carrying doctors and supplies. Big engineering vessels moved into position, using special beams to hold together the parts of the station that were breaking. Fighter planes flew in circles around everything, watching for any more threats. On Station 7, Administrator Velen stood in his command center watching the humans work. They moved fast and knew exactly what to do. Human medical teams set up emergency hospitals. Human engineers checked the damage and started fixing it. Human security forces made sure everyone was safe and calm. Within an hour, the situation went from terrible to manageable. The station wasn't going to explode. The injured were getting help. People were safe. A human officer walked up to Velen. She was tall with short brown hair and commander badges on her uniform. Administrator Velen, I'm Commander Nicole Harper, Human Relief Operations. We're here to help. What do you need most? Velen's voice caught in his throat. You came, so many of you came. All for us? Nicole's face softened. You're our friends, Administrator. That merchant captain who crashed into the Kresh ship, she's one of ours. She risked everything to protect your people. Did you really think we wouldn't come? I never expected this. Velen waved at all the ships outside the window. Your entire fleet for one station. We are just traders. We are not warriors. We have nothing valuable to give you in return. Nicole shook her head. You don't understand. This isn't a trade. This isn't a deal. This is what we do. When someone needs help, we come. It doesn't matter if you're human or alien. It doesn't matter what you can give us. You called for help and we answered. That's all that matters. Over the next few hours, even more human ships arrived. Supply ships brought food, medicine, and building materials. A huge hospital ship came and started treating injured Velens with the same care they gave to human patients. Engineering teams worked all day and all night to fix the station's important systems. Captain Lisa Chen was found alive in her escape pod. She was bruised and hurt but alive. When Admiral Pierce visited her in the medical room, he found her trying to convince the doctors to let her go back to work. Captain Chen, Pierce said with a formal voice. Then he smiled. That was one amazing ramming attack. Completely against the rules. Absolutely crazy and exactly what needed to happen. You bought those people the time they needed to survive. Lisa managed a weak smile. Did we get them all, sir? All the Kresh? Every single one. Some gave up. Some fought. None escaped. And Captain, you should know that your distress call caused the biggest fleet movement in human history. Over 150 ships came. Lisa's eyes went wide. For one space station? For our friends. For people who needed help. Pierce's face became serious. The Kresh thought they could hurt weak people and no one would care. They learned that when you attack someone humanity calls friend, you don't face one ship or one station. You face all of us. Every single one of us. Lisa lay back on her medical bed. Her body hurt, but she felt proud. I just did what anyone would do. Pierce shook his head. No, Captain. Most people would have run away. Most people would have thought about saving themselves first. You flew toward danger to help strangers. That's special. That's heroic. And that's why I'm putting you up for a medal. When you're healed, I'm also offering you command of a cruiser. We need people like you leading our ships. Tears filled Lisa's eyes. Thank you, sir. But can I make one request? Of course. Put my new ship on patrol in the frontier zones, where I can answer more distress calls if they come. Pierce smiled. I'll make it happen. Days passed. The human fleet stayed at Station 7, making sure everything was fixed properly. They didn't just repair the damage from the attack. They made the station stronger than before. They added new defensive systems. They reinforced the walls. They gave the Velens equipment to protect themselves if this ever happened again. All of it was free. The humans asked for nothing in return. When Velen asked why they were giving so much, Commander Harper just smiled. Because you're our friends, and friends help each other. The Kresh prisoners were put on trial for their crimes. Most of them chose to be exiled instead of going to prison. They were sent back to their home territory with a strong warning. Don't ever attack anyone in human-protected space again. Some people thought humanity should have been more harsh with the prisoners. Admiral Pierce disagreed. Let them go home and tell their people what happened. Let them tell everyone about what happens when you attack humanity's friends. Sometimes the best way to prevent future attacks is to have survivors who can share their story. And the Kresh did tell their story. They went home and told everyone about the Armada that appeared. About how humanity sent over 100 warships to save one space station. About how the Deathworlders would come from everywhere if you hurt their friends. The story spread across the galaxy like fire. Other species heard about Station 7. They heard about the merchant captain who sacrificed her ship. They heard about the massive fleet that appeared so quickly. And they learned an important lesson. Humanity protected its friends with overwhelming force. 3 weeks after the battle, Administrator Velen stood in the command center of Station 7. The damage had been bad, but the human engineering teams had worked miracles. The station wasn't just working again. It was better than before. It had new defensive weapons and stronger walls, all gifts from their new friends. Admiral Pierce had stayed to watch over the final repairs. Now he and Velen stood together, looking at the last human supply ships getting ready to leave. A small group of warships would stay behind permanently. They would make sure this never happened again. "The Galactic Council wants me to speak to them," Velen said quietly. "They want to know what happened here." "What should I tell them?" Pierce thought about the question. "Tell them the truth. Tell them we answered a distress call from a friend. Tell them we will always answer. And tell them that anyone who hurts innocent people will face not just one human ship, but all of us. Some species are afraid of you now. They call Earth a death world. They call humans Deathworlders. They see what your people can do and they worry." The Admiral nodded slowly. "Let them worry. Earth is a death world. It's a planet that tried to kill us for millions of years. We survived by learning to adapt, to fight, to protect our families. Yes, that makes us dangerous, but we only use that strength to protect, never to conquer. The only species that should fear us are the ones who hurt the weak." Velen looked at the Admiral with understanding. "Your people are survivors. You know what it means to face death and refuse to give up. That's right. And we've decided that no one else should face that alone, not if we have the power to help." The next day, Velen stood before the Galactic Council. Representatives from hundreds of species sat in a huge chamber. He told them about the attack. He told them about Captain Chen's sacrifice. He told them about the fleet that appeared like angels. And he shared a message that would echo across space. "I speak to those who might think about attacking innocent people, the defenseless, those who cannot protect themselves. Know this, humanity is watching. They have made it clear that an attack on any peaceful species is an attack on them. And when you attack humanity's friends, you don't face a single ship or a small fleet. You face an armada." He paused, letting everyone think about his words. "They call humans Deathworlders, and they are correct. Earth is a death world that made them strong and tough. But I have learned that their strength isn't what makes them special. It's their kindness. Their willingness to risk everything for strangers. Their absolute refusal to stand by while others suffer. The Kresh thought we were easy targets. They were wrong. And any species that makes the same mistake will learn the same lesson. When a distress signal goes out, when someone calls for help, the Deathworlder Armada will answer." Across human space, the events at Station 7 had big effects. 40% more people joined the military. The government spent more money on defense to make sure no distress call would go unanswered. New ships were built. New bases were established. All with one goal: to make sure humanity could respond to any crisis anywhere. Captain Lisa Chen received a medal for her bravery and was offered command of a new heavy cruiser. She accepted, but only if her ship would patrol the frontier where she could answer future distress calls. The military agreed. The story of Station 7 spread everywhere. Species learned about the distress call. They learned about the merchant captain who gave up her ship. They learned about the armada that appeared within hours. Piracy in human-protected space dropped to almost zero. Trade routes that had been dangerous for hundreds of years became safe. And when disasters happened, when colonies needed help, when species faced extinction from natural disasters or enemies, they knew who to call. Humanity, the Deathworlders, had become the galaxy's protectors. On Earth, in the military academy where future officers learned their jobs, a new tradition started. Every graduating class would hear the story of Station 7. They would learn about Captain Chen's decision to answer a distress call even though she had an unarmed cargo ship. They would study Admiral Pierce's mobilization of forces, the largest fleet response in history for one allied station, and they would learn the lesson that defined humanity's role in the galaxy. When someone calls for help, you answer, no matter the cost, no matter the odds, because that's what it means to be human. Years later, on a quiet evening at his home in Colorado, Admiral Pierce sat with his granddaughter. She was young and curious. She asked him about his career. "What was your proudest moment, Grandpa?" He thought about all the battles he had won. He thought about all the strategies he had created. He thought about all the innovations he had made. But in the end, his answer was simple. Station 7. When we heard that distress call and every ship in the fleet turned toward it without thinking twice. When we showed the galaxy what humanity stands for. That was the day I was most proud to wear this uniform. His granddaughter looked at the medals on his wall, then back at him. Because you saved them? Pierce smiled. Because we proved that being strong doesn't mean being cruel. That power can be used to protect rather than conquer. That a Deathworld's children can choose to be guardians instead of destroyers. His granddaughter smiled back at him. I want to be like that when I grow up. Then join the fleet when you're old enough. Help people. Protect those who can't protect themselves. Make your old grandpa proud. I will, Grandpa. I promise. And in the depths of space, on stations and ships across 1,000 systems, that message continued to spread. The Deathworlder Armada stood ready, waiting for the next distress signal, prepared to answer the next call for help. Trade between species increased. New alliances formed. Species that had once been enemies started talking to each other. And at the center of it all was humanity, the species from the Deathworld, using their strength to bring peace instead of war. Other military powers watched and learned. Some tried to copy humanity's approach. Some resented humanity's growing influence, but none could deny the results. The galaxy was becoming a safer place. Captain Lisa Chen took command of her new cruiser, the Defender. True to Admiral Pierce's word, she was assigned to patrol the frontier zones. She and her crew became known as the fastest responders in the fleet. Whenever a distress call came in, the Defender was usually the first to arrive. She saved colonies from natural disasters. She stopped pirate raids. She evacuated stations before they exploded. And everywhere she went, people were grateful. They saw the human flag on her ship and knew they were safe. The Velans never forgot what humanity did for them. Station 7 became a hub of human-Velan cooperation. They built together, traded together, and became true friends. Young Velans grew up hearing stories about the day the Deathworlders came to save them. And throughout the galaxy, a new saying emerged. If you're in trouble, call the humans. They will come. They always come. Because that's what humans did. That's what they would always do. When someone needed help, when a distress signal echoed through the void, the Deathworlders would answer. Not as conquerors, not as overlords, but as friends, as allies, as protectors who refused to let the innocent suffer alone. And the galaxy was better for it. 10 years after the Station 7 incident, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The story of how humanity responded to a single distress call had become legend. Children of dozens of species grew up hearing about the Deathworlder Armada that came to save the Velans. Captain Lisa Chen, now promoted to Admiral Chen, commanded an entire battle group from her flagship, the Guardian. She was 42 years old now, with gray starting to show in her hair. But her eyes still held that same determination they had 10 years ago, when she flew her merchant ship into battle. She stood on the bridge of the Guardian, looking at a holographic map of the sector. Her ships patrolled vast areas of space, protecting trade routes and responding to emergencies. In the past decade, her battle group had answered over 200 distress calls. They had saved thousands of lives. Admiral, we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command, her communications officer announced. A young man named Kyle Harper, actually the son of Commander Nicole Harper, who had helped at Station 7 all those years ago. Put it through, Lisa said. The face of Admiral Gregory Pierce appeared on the screen. He was older now, his hair completely white, but he still commanded the respect of every officer in the fleet. Lisa, good to see you. I have news. The Galactic Council has made an official request. They want humanity to establish a permanent rapid response force, ship specifically dedicated to answering distress calls across the galaxy. Lisa felt pride swell in her chest. That's incredible, sir. What did Earth say? Earth said yes, of course, and the Council wants you to command it. You're the hero of Station 7. You're the one who started all of this. There's no one better for the job. Lisa was quiet for a moment. It was a huge responsibility, but it was also everything she had ever wanted. To help people, to make the galaxy safer, to make sure no one had to face danger alone. I accept, sir. When do I start? Pierce smiled. Immediately. You'll have 50 of our best ships, with more being built. You'll have authority to operate in any system that requests aid. And Lisa, you'll be working with ships from other species too. The Velans are contributing vessels, so are the Archons, the Meridians, and a dozen others. This will be a truly galactic force. That's even better, Lisa said. It shouldn't just be humans protecting everyone. We all need to work together, exactly. Good luck, Admiral. Make us proud. The screen went dark. Lisa turned to her crew. They were all watching her with excitement. You heard the man. We're going to be the core of something bigger, something that will make the galaxy safer for everyone. Are you with me? Her crew cheered. They had served with her for years. They knew her. They trusted her. And they believed in the mission. Meanwhile, on Station 7, Administrator Velen was preparing for a special ceremony. The station had been completely rebuilt and was now one of the busiest trading hubs in the sector. Human and Velen families lived there together. Children of both species played together in the parks. It was a symbol of what cooperation could achieve. Today they were unveiling a monument. A huge sculpture made of metal from the destroyed Horizon's Edge, the ship that Lisa Chen had sacrificed to save them. The sculpture showed a human hand and a Velen hand clasped together, reaching toward the stars. Thousands of people gathered for the ceremony. Humans, Velens, and representatives from dozens of other species. They all came to remember the day that changed everything. The day the Deathworlder Armada answered the call. Velen stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd. He was older now, too, his skin showing the blue-gray color that Velens developed with age, but his voice was still strong. 10 years ago, we faced extinction. We called out into the void, hoping someone would hear us. And someone did. Captain Lisa Chen heard our call and came to help, even though it meant risking her life. Her courage inspired an entire fleet to come to our aid. Today, we honor her sacrifice and the sacrifice of all those who answered our call. He pressed a button and the cloth covering the monument fell away. The sculpture gleamed in the station's lights. The crowd was silent for a moment, then began to applaud. Some people cried. Some hugged each other. All of them felt the weight of what this monument represented. Hope. Friendship. The belief that good people would always stand against evil, that the strong would protect the weak, that no one had to face darkness alone. In the years that followed, the Galactic Rapid Response Force became one of the most respected organizations in known space. Ships bearing the symbol of clasped hands raced to disasters across the galaxy. They saved colonies from asteroid impacts. They stopped wars before they could start. They brought food to planets suffering from famine. They evacuated populations from dying stars. And at the center of it all was humanity, the species from the Death World. They had taken their strength, their determination, their refusal to give up, and used it to protect others. They became teachers, showing other species how to organize rapid response teams. They became builders, helping construct ships designed for rescue and relief. They became leaders not through conquest, but through service. The Kresh, the species that had attacked Station 7, had changed too. After their defeat, they had been forced to examine their way of life. Some Kresh chose to continue their raiding ways in distant parts of space, but many others decided to change. They joined the galactic community, using their speed and skill not for piracy, but for legitimate trade and even for the Rapid Response Force. It turned out that people could change when given the chance. Admiral Pierce, now retired, spent his days at his home in Colorado. He wrote books about military strategy and gave lectures at the academy, but his favorite activity was talking to young officers about Station 7. He never got tired of telling that story, because it wasn't just a story about a battle. It was a story about who humanity chose to be. They could have become conquerors. Earth had made them strong enough. They could have used their power to dominate others, but they didn't. They chose to be protectors instead. And that choice had changed the galaxy. One evening, Pierce received a message. It was from Admiral Lisa Chen. He smiled when he saw her name. They still kept in touch after all these years. Admiral Pierce, her message read, I wanted to thank you again for believing in me 10 years ago. Because of that day at Station 7, because of what we all did together, the galaxy is a better place. We've saved over 50,000 lives through the Rapid Response Force. We've prevented a dozen wars. We've brought hope to people who had none. And it all started with one distress call and people who chose to answer it. Thank you for teaching me what it means to serve. Lisa Pierce wrote back immediately. Lisa, you don't need to thank me. You were the one who started all of this. You flew toward danger when everyone else would have run away. You showed the galaxy what humanity stands for. I'm proud to have served with you. Gregory. He sent the message and looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Ships bearing the symbol of clasped hands were racing toward someone in need. Somewhere out there, people who had been enemies were learning to be friends. Somewhere out there, the legacy of Station 7 continued. Earth's moon hung in the sky, bright and beautiful. Pierce remembered when humans first walked on that moon. They had gone there not to conquer, but to explore. Not to take, but to learn. That spirit had carried humanity to the stars and beyond. His granddaughter, now a lieutenant serving on one of the Rapid Response Force ships, had sent him a photo last week. She stood on the bridge of her vessel, proud in her uniform. She was living the dream. Protecting others, making the galaxy safer. Following in the footsteps of heroes like Lisa Chen, Pierce felt tears in his eyes. Happy tears. The world his generation had built was a good one. Not perfect, never perfect. There was still crime, still conflict, still suffering. But there was also hope. There was cooperation. There was proof that different species could work together for the common good. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth. When someone called for help, others would answer. Because that's what good people did. That's what humanity had taught the galaxy. That's what would endure long after all of them were gone. The Deathworlder Armada had become something more than just a military force. It had become a symbol, a promise, a guarantee that no matter how dark things got, help was on the way, that no one was truly alone in the vast emptiness of space, because humanity had answered the call. And they would keep answering it again and again, for as long as there were people who needed help. That was the legacy of Station 7. That was the gift Earth's children gave to the galaxy. Not conquest, not domination, but protection, friendship, and hope. And the galaxy was forever changed because of it.